Welcome. The topic for today is Mitzvah's Kiddush. Mitzvat Kiddush. What are the preparations that we should do to prepare the table for Kiddush? The Torah tells us the mitzvah of Kiddush in a very unique way. Zocha es Yom HaShabbos lekadoshoy. Remember the day of Shabbos to sanctify it. And the question is, why would remembering be so important? The entire mitzvah of saying Kiddush is not even quoted in the form of having to say words. It's just quoted in the idea of remembering. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh, the great Sephardic leader who lived about 350 years ago, writes in his compilation on the Torah to the portion of Bereshis. He writes an amazing idea in regard to Shabbos that gives us a whole different perspective in our understanding of Shabbos. He says the following: we view the world as if God put it into motion, and now the world is here. Every week goes by, a week ends, another week starts, a month ends, another month starts, a year ends, another year starts. The world just keeps on going on. Says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, in reality, God created this world for only 6 days. The world was created by God and was given the full life energy for only 6 days, the first 6 days of creation. And then came Shabbos. Says the Or HaChaim, it was the energy of Shabbos that came down, that gave the ability, that gave the possibility for there to be another 6 days. So the second week after creation came about because it descended upon the world through the energy that descended that first Shabbos. Similarly, says the Or HaChaim, each and every week, as each and every week goes by, the world has energy to exist for only 6 days. We go through an entire week, an entire round of 6 days. It comes the end of the week, comes in Shabbos. Says the Or HaChaim, the Shabbos brings with it the energy for another 6 days. And that's the way we keep on going since the beginning of time. Every unit of existence only comes in the form of 1 week. By the end of that week, there's no energy anymore to continue onwards. It's Shabbos that gives the energy for the next week to continue onwards. It totally changes our perception of Shabbos. We tend to view Shabbos as being part of the weekend. We go through a whole week, which is the main part of our lives, and then there's something that comes at the end of the week. The week ends. Shabbos, so you have a chance to rest. According to Or HaChaim, it's exactly the opposite. Shabbos is really the beginning of our week. Through Shabbos, we receive a whole new energy, a whole new burst of life to be able to support us for the upcoming 6 days. We can now understand why the Torah commands us, Zochar es Yom HaShabbos. Remember the day of Shabbos. Because it's not like we think Shabbos sort of revolves around the week. We have weekdays, and then you have Shabbos also. No, it's the opposite. Shabbos is the center point. Shabbos is the focal point of the week. All of the days of our week revolve around Shabbos. So God commands us and He says, Zochar, remember that. When you go through your week, remember what the goal is. Remember what the main day is. The main day, both at start and completion of the week, is really Shabbos. Sanctify it. Make sure that you prepare to make it into a special day. And so therefore the Gemara tells us that the great sage Shammai would constantly remember Shabbos throughout the week. From the beginning of the week, Sunday, he would see something that's appropriate to eat on Shabbos, to respect the Shabbos, an object that will give him more pleasure on Shabbos, he would buy it. He would say, this is for Shabbos. Next day, second day, came a better object. He saw something even more delicious. He bought that. And he ate the thing he bought yesterday during the week. Every day of the week, he was preparing for Shabbos. This is a fulfillment of the command, remember the day of Shabbos. We might not be on the level of the sage Shammai, but the idea is that Shabbos should be a focal point of our week. And therefore, once Shabbos actually comes in, once the experience of Shabbos actually descends upon us and descends upon the world, says the Torah, remember it. Make sure it gets noticed. Shouldn't go unnoticed. Lekadeshoi, sanctify it. Now, how do you sanctify a day? And what we have passed down is that the mitzvah is to proclaim that the day of Shabbos is here. You make a proclamation. Any event that you go to in the world that's a special type of event involves a proclamation. When it comes to a wedding, the groom has to proclaim to the bride that he's now betrothing her. When it comes to a gathering, an assembly of governments, someone has to get up and make a speech. Someone has to introduce what's about to take place in order to set things in motion. Whenever you have a special occasion, there needs to be an MC to introduce, to get people into the mindset of what's about to take place. And so therefore, God has actually given us a commandment. When Shabbos arrives, don't let it go unnoticed. Don't just sleep through that whole time of sunset until the stars come out and Shabbos just came in. Make a statement. Say some words. Proclaim. It's Shabbos. And that makes the whole experience totally different. And so therefore there are great halakha authorities who understand that in order to fulfill this mitzvah in its most minimal sense, is just to proclaim some word about Shabbos. It's Shabbos. Good Shabbos to you. A good Shabbos. By just saying those words, even once, if a person has in mind to fulfill the mitzvah, he can fulfill his obligation. He can fulfill this mitzvah from the Torah by just saying those words. And sometimes we need to do that. For example, when Shabbos falls on Yom Kippur, we won't be making Kiddush. We're not going to hold up a cup of wine and make Kiddush that night. And so therefore, it is necessary at some point on the evening of Yom Kippur, if it's Friday night, to have in mind that when I say the words in davening about Shabbos, or I say a good Shabbos to my friend, when it's Yom Kippur, I should have in mind to fulfill the commandment from the Torah to proclaim words about Shabbos. So the minimal requirement would be to proclaim words. The Sanhedrin has instituted to proclaim the words upon wine. So what we want to do tonight, what we want to do today, is to try and understand what it is that we have to do. What do we have to do practically to get ready for this mitzvah? Now that we're going to proclaim the words upon wine, what are the preparations that need to take place just at the table in order to be ready for Kiddush? So the first one is, according to the halacha, one is restricted from eating or drinking before Kiddush. From the time of accepting the Shabbos, once a woman lights candles, or a man officially accepts the Shabbos before sundown, it is prohibited to eat or drink anything before Kiddush. If a person is very hungry or thirsty, they can make Kiddush right away. Even if it's still a little bit during the day, it's permissible to say the Kiddush. The point is, once Shabbos has already started for you, once it's taken effect, before eating anything, we need to make Kiddush. Because that proclamation, that statement of the greatness of the day needs to take place before we actually enjoy anything, before we eat. Just like when you come to an important meal, there's a proclamation, there's a statement made beforehand that really sets the tone for the whole meal. So there's a separate rabbinic restriction to eat or drink anything before making Kiddush. So the first point is, from the time of accepting Shabbos, if a person wants to eat or drink anything, they must make the Kiddush. The second point is, as far as the table, ideally, the challah, the bread that we're going to eat, the special challah bread for Shabbos that we're going to eat, should already be on the table and covered, as is customary. The bread should be on the table. The challah should be on the table and covered before Kiddush. The reason for this is because Kiddush is a proclamation of what I'm about to do. It's why my meal has meaning, why my meal has importance and sanctity. So I want to say it when I'm all ready to eat the meal. I'm all ready to eat the meal. I have the challah ready. Everything is set. The table is all in place. Now I come to say the Kiddush. So the second point is that ideally one should place already the challah covered on the table before Kiddush. The third point that applies just to getting the table ready are the specific halachas that apply to the cup of Kiddush. The Kiddush cup has very special and specific halachas, and we'll go over them now. For one, the cup that's used for Kiddush needs to be complete. It needs to be a whole utensil, and that means if there's any type of crack, if there's a small hole in the bottom of the cup, and there's actual liquid oozing out, even though it might be a minute amount, that cup cannot be used for Kiddush. If the cup is incomplete because it's dented or wobbly, it should not be used for Kiddush. The cup that's used for Kiddush, the rim should be complete. It should be a complete cup. Another halacha in regard to the cup, that it needs to be a durable cup. It needs to be something of substance. We're about to make Kiddush. We're about to proclaim sanctity on our meal and say what the importance of eating an elegant meal out of respect of Shabbos is. The cup that we proclaim that on should be a respectful cup. And so therefore the question comes up practically nowadays that we have so many disposable utensils. Can a person use a disposable cup for Kiddush? For Friday night, a disposable cup should not be used. If it's a regular plastic disposable cup, it's not elegant in any way. It doesn't have much substance to it. It should not be used to make Kiddush. If a person has no choice, absolutely no choice, then what's generally done is a person should use at least 2 disposable cups together to give it some sort of importance. That's not the best way, but according to some authorities, that could work. The cup has to have some importance. So even if using a disposable cup, use at least 2 together to give it some importance. Thirdly, the cup for Kiddush needs to be clean. According to the strict line of halacha, if the cup is clean, it does not need to be washed. But obviously, if the cup has residue at all, or has been used previously, it needs to be washed out, both from the inside and the outside. The cup needs to be clean. If it's totally clean, then it can be used. One more halacha in regard to the cup is that just as we try to do in every mitzvah, we should try that the cup should be beautiful. There's a special requirement that when we do the mitzvahs, we should try to do them in the most beautiful way. If a person puts a mezuzah on his house, it should be a beautiful mezuzah. If a person reads from the Megillah, it should be a beautiful Megillah. If he blows shofar, the shofar should be pleasant and beautiful. We should try to beautify the mitzvahs as much as possible. We buy silver to decorate the Sefer Torah. And so therefore, it's only proper that if a person can, the cup should actually be beautiful. Customarily, Jewish people take out a nice amount from their finances in order to acquire a beautiful Kiddush cup. Why is this necessary? Because what it does add is, it adds respect to the day of Shabbos. It adds sanctity. It adds to the whole atmosphere of Shabbos. When your table is set up and the silver becher, the silver goblet, is on the table, ready to make Kiddush upon. So, to go over the preparations that are necessary before Kiddush. First of all, what we need to know practically is that if a person wants to eat or drink at all, they need right away to make Kiddush. Secondly, as far as setting up the table, the challah bread should be already on the table before Kiddush, covered and ready for the meal. Thirdly, the cup that's used for Kiddush should preferably be a beautiful cup. But whatever cup it is, it needs to be complete, it should be durable, and it needs to be clean. Technically, it's important to know when choosing a Kiddush cup, and we'll learn about this when we talk about the wine that's used for Kiddush, is that it needs to hold the minimal requirement for the wine Friday night. The minimal requirement for the wine is 3.3 fluid ounces. And so therefore you need to measure that the cup that you choose for Kiddush holds at least 3.3 fluid ounces. According to many halachic authorities, the best way to do Kiddush would be with a cup that holds 5.07 fluid ounces, a little over 5 fluid ounces, which is a larger type of cup. So, whatever opinion you follow, the cup will need to hold that amount of wine. Choose a Kiddush cup and try and get a beautiful Kiddush cup to add to the Shabbos experience. May God help, and we'll be able to do this mitzvah properly, in its proper format, with the proper intent. And may God bless us, that we actually be able to proclaim the Shabbos each and every week out of happiness, with a sense of sanctity, with a sense of feeling the presence of Hashem in our homes and in our hearts at our Shabbos meals.